Good afternoon. It's myself from Tauranga this afternoon. Let me just clean my camera a bit. And then Vanita from Auckland. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. I hope you're having a good afternoon.
Oh, yeah, Mother's Day, and we got to sit here and talk to you. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just looks as if I'm very faint.
Blurry, I know.
I'll probably get back down. All right, stuff has been happening, eh? Stuff has been happening. So
yes, so I'll just make a disclaimer now that we've been given a very high-level framework of the employer-led 3-check process. So some of the things I may say is just general opinion. Some has been obviously given to us in the webinar that we had on Friday. So I do apologize, Jan, for not being available at 3 o'clock on Friday, because we were trying to go through it, like, a few of us trying to work through, okay, what does this mean? How do you approach it, and so on. So yeah, and just exchanging notes, making sure we've got the right information.
I just had to say to somebody now, and I said to them, before Vanita says anything, Vanita will be 100% sure of every fact that there is.
There is something that I did say on my Facebook post that was incorrect, though, as to when the employer will need accreditation. So my bad on that. But now I have that information, so I can do that. So I suppose a lot of people are kind of wondering, okay, what's going to go on? What's the residency pathway is going to look like? What's going to happen? So what I'll do is I'll do the timeline first, so everybody sort of would understand, okay, this is where I'm going to be, and this is where it's going, in the next few months. Yeah. Okay. So now the whole webinar was actually geared towards employers and what they need to do, and the whole process is changing, where it was applicant-led. It's now going to be employer-led. So it's the employer that has to go through all the hoops and so on with immigration, and, the applicant comes at the absolute last stage. So I'll just quickly tell you what those stages are. You've got the employer check stage, okay? Then you've got the job check stage, and then you've got the applicant check, okay? So those are the three things. So
how long will this take?
So I'll tell you what the timeline is going to be, okay? So pretty much the way it would work is when I explain the timeline, it will tell you how it's going to work, okay? So this is for employers, okay? So right now we have, like the essential skills, work visas, and all these other visas put together. That's still going to exist until the 31st of October. So you have until the 31st of October of this year to apply for whatever visa, renew whatever visa you want to renew. With the employer accreditation, that whole process is going to change. Okay. Now, so the way it stands, we've got the talent, and we've got the approval in principle and so on that people can apply for, or employers can apply for. They can do that between now and the 30th of June. After that, they won't be able to apply for accreditation. And that will be become a talented accredited employer. All right. So that's the one timeline. The next one is in late September. This is where employers can start using the new online system and apply for accreditation on the new system. And that is where the new accredited employer work visa will be supported. All right. So that's late September. So we've got, and as I said before, up until the 31st of October, everybody can still apply for work visas in whatever category they want to apply for. Come the 1st of November, that will be gone completely. So you've got essential skills, you've got talent accredited employer, you've got long-term skills shortage and so on. You can do that from now until the 31st of October. The 1st of November is where the whole new scheme comes in, where any employer now employing a migrant worker on a new visa will have to have accreditation with Immigration New Zealand. Okay. So there's
no getting away of that.
No. And this is where I made the incorrect thing on my Facebook, or statement on my Facebook chat was, I said everybody has to have it by the 1st of November. No. So if you, for instance, you're still on a essential skills work visa, and say, for instance, it's only expiring in January next year, your employer does not need to become accredited until you apply for a new work visa in January or December of next year, because they will need to support your new visa then. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. But just note that certain things are not going to change. For instance, if you're on an open partnership-based work visa, if you're on an open study work visa, if you're a regional recognized seasonal worker, or you're on a holiday working visa, those do not require an employer to have accreditation.
All right.
So say, for instance, you've got the partners working for companies, and say, I suppose the employer needs to know who is the main applicant, who do I have on open work visas. They need to know this. So the onus is now falling on the employer to know exactly who they have on their books and what they need to do by a certain date, and when visas expiring and so on. Okay, so that's where that falls. Now there's a few things, and there was some questions and answers and so on, which I'll sort of go through, because I'm sure a lot of people will sort of go, okay, what's the residency pathway? How long are the visas going to be valid for, and so on. So there's going to be two types of accreditation: your standard accreditation and your premium accreditation. So any employer employing 1 to 5 workers will get standard accreditation, and it's supposed to be quick. Anyone employing more than 6 or more will need premium accreditation. So they'll have much more, with premium accreditation, they will need to meet a lot more criteria or checklists on that.
Okay.
So that's
this
one.
is a process that so basically they have to set everything up even before they advertise the first position.
Yes, so they pretty much need to. So right now, the way accreditation works is, we know employers have to have health and safety. They have to have a human resource, human resource policies, workplace practices. We know they need to have all of that, and also training and recruitment. With the standard and the premium, we're not too sure how that's going to work, on what level immigration is going to be looking at those policies and so on. But in all these, they are still saying that you need to show that there are no New Zealanders suitably qualified for the role. So when you do that job check, you still need to go through that process for the employer. Okay, so we're talking about the first part, where the employer is having to go through this accreditation process. Apparently, it's supposed to be it will be processed in a month or so, if employers do this. So I suppose one thing that people could think about is, and probably have discussions with the employer, is if their visas are coming up for expiry, what should they do? Apply now, or is the employer going to go through the accreditation process and they do the new accredited employer work visa? So it's really those conversations that they may need to start having. And I'll tell you what, Jan, because we work with employers as well. And sometimes, and I will be honest in here, where we have employers saying, I don't want to go through that process, and I don't want to keep my migrant worker on. So I think it's important.
I fully understand that as well, because, that's a heck of a lot coming from the employer's side as well now.
Exactly, because they've got to do, if you look at all the details, because there's a detailed fact sheet, and they have to do settlement programs, or give the employee or the migrant worker settlement information, community information. Yes, it is just an email and things, but it's a lot more responsibility on the employer. And also, some employees just don't want to be scrutinized by immigration, with their financials and, and showing that they're in business, and, they're paying, they're following all this compliance. So I think, if you're a migrant worker, you should probably be having discussions with your employer as to what they are planning on doing moving forward, and then possibly even looking at maybe renewing your visa if it's expiring. I don't know, I suppose when you have that discussion with them, when is your visa expiring? So if you can get another 3 years on an essential skills, for instance, which will avoid the employer having to do the accreditation process, then maybe that's something that they would want to do, while they get themselves geared up for the accreditation. But that's something that you probably need to discuss with the employer.
That's right. We've got a lot of questions. I just want to say to the guys, we're not ignoring you. We
won't ignore you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll answer some questions as we go through. So some of the questions that came up was, how long is the visa going to be valid for? Now, this is a new accredited employer work visa. So you've got 12 months and you've got 3 years, okay? Now, the 12 months are for those people that are going to be paid below median wage and will be either in the city or high supply region or high supply labor region. So they're going to define this a lot more. Now, I'll just go back to city. City is no longer Auckland. City is defined differently. The city is now, the city is now Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin. Okay, so
interesting.
So yeah, and with Dunedin, I just don't know how many people, or what's the labor market there, to be honest, because I actually haven't placed many people in working in Dunedin, so I don't know. So yeah, like in Tauranga, we know there's quite. I'm surprised they left Tauranga out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they add Tauranga at a later stage. You know what I mean? So that's a city. So it's interesting because in that city they talk about. So we're going to get rid of the long-term skills shortage list, but we're still going to have a skills shortage list, right? Now, sorry, I'm referring to my notes because I've got to look at them.
I fully understand that. I mean, you must have tons of notes in front of you.
So the skills shortage list, the way it's going to be applied is if a role is in the city and is paid at least median wage and is on the skills shortage list, then there's no labor market test. Okay. And if it's outside the city, paid above the median wage, then there's no labor market test. So looking at it, the skills shortage list is going to look very different. There's obviously going to be a high labor supply, low labor supply, and that's what's going to determine whether you're going to get a 12-month visa or 3-year visa.
All right. What's the median wage that they're talking about?
The median wage is currently $25.50, and it's going to be reviewed in July. And Statistics New Zealand have already said it's $27.50 right now. So, and that's obviously because we've got a lot of people, like especially in Queenstown and so on, they're not in the tourism industry. They're generally notorious for getting paid a lower wage. That's now, because there's no employment or unemployment's increased in those areas, the median wage has been pushed up. So right now it's $25.50, but we don't know in July when they review it what it's going to be.
That's right.
All right. So it's interesting because like they also talk about labor market testing, that they're going to use the skills shortage list for labor market testing, and they're also going to go to Ministry of Social Development, where you get your skills match reports and so on for those lower skilled. But again, it's going to be defined, and that's pretty much what, it's 12 months or 3 years. It's not going to be sort of like 5 years or anything in between. They are going to come back, because right now with the low skilled visas, we have a stand down period of 12, after 3 visas. So like you can do 12 months 3 times, and then we have a stand down period of 12 months. They are going to come back and define what that's going to be. Because they're still working through all those bits and pieces.
Guys can do basically 3 years in a row of 12, 12, 12.
You can, but then you've got to be out for another 12 months, out of the country. But it's not only low skilled, it's also based on median wage as well. So if you're earning like $24, then you're already down there, even though you may be skilled. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. So that's that. Interim visas. That's interesting because, say, for instance, and we were discussing this, okay, an interim visa usually happens when I've got an essential skills work visa. I've now applied for this new accredited employer work visa, right? Because my visa is going to expire. And in the middle, there's this, decision-making time, and there's a period of time where your current visa, which is the essential skills, will expire. And then you will go on this interim visa, which immigration grants you until they make that decision on your accredited employer work visa. They do not have any information. They said it remains unchanged right now. So the way it would work is, if you're in that transition period and you're granted an interim visa, you will be given visitor visa, right? So that means you can't work. Okay. They said it remains unchanged, but we don't know. So that means you've got to apply within a reasonable amount of time so that you still are able to work, while you get your new visa. Okay. With variation of conditions, we know people change jobs, go to another employer and so on. And usually you can go from one employer to another. But if you think about it, what if one employer is accredited and one employer is not accredited? What's going to happen? Yes. Yeah. So that they said they're going to seek ministerial approval on that to see whether you can do a VOC, from one to the other. They'll give us more details on that. Right. Residency pathway, and I think a lot of people will want to know what the residency pathway on this is going to be, and the cabinet has agreed on this. And so the residency pathway on this is you have to be earning twice the median wage, which is currently at 106,080 per annum based on a 40-hour week. Okay. And you have to be working with an accredited employer for 2 years. So that means if you're earning less than the twice the median wage, there's no pathway under the accredited employer work visa for residents.
All right. So will expression of interest fall away now?
That's a different category. It's a skilled migrant category.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Me jumping the gun
no, that's okay. And we didn't discuss any of that because we're not too sure how that's going to work or that's going to be affected and so on. Jan, do you know how many expression of interest applications are right now in the pool under SMC? Yes.
I will guess roughly about 12, let's say 16,000.
Okay, it's not as high as that.
Okay.
Well, it's about 7,700. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and you can still submit an application in, but obviously that pool's closed and no draws are happening. And look, this is my opinion, and I made the disclaimer at the beginning. If we define in regions now as Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin, think of it this way: SMC may change in that regard, where the regions are now not going to be outside of Auckland, where you get 30 points. It's going to be probably encompassing those areas as well that were mentioned as the cities. Let's just say that. But as I said, that's my opinion on that one. So those people that have claimed 30 points and put an expression of interest in, try and see if you can get a buffer somewhere, where you can see where you can make up those points. But yeah, so this is not really about SMC because we didn't discuss anything with SMC. I do not know when the pool or the draws are going to be open or anything like that. We can go to some questions.
We also don't know when the borders are going to open because,
Well, if you've seen I think on Friday, like after 5 o'clock, we got another amendment circular, which is the amendment circular 2021-14. So that's the 14th one this year. And it talks about temporary entry, borders and temporary entry visas and so on. And we are not pretty much allowing anyone, if they don't meet the certain criteria, of critical workers or partners of critical workers, the specific criteria, we're not looking at that until the 6th of August of this year. So the split families, where they're saying, when can I have my husband or wife or whatever join me and my kids? We're not processing that until August, or not looking at it, I should say, until August.
And that's another 3 months.
Yes, it's another 3 months and they've extended it. So the minister, I don't know whether the minister was no matter after the select committee hearings and everything else and hearing from the migrant families and, all those bits and pieces, they still went ahead and gave him another 24 months of power. Okay. Not 12 months, because I would have preferred 12 months, with some changes, but they gave him 24 months. So, yeah.
All right. Can we take a few questions? I've got a question
absolutely.
From Martin Tennyson sorry, I can't flick this one on the screen.
That's okay.
On one of the other channels. What is the cost for standard accreditation for an employer?
We're not too sure because those costs have not been announced as yet. So, Yeah, so I think they're going to come out around late September or as soon as immigration have that information. It's definitely going to be cheaper, I think, compared to what it is currently. Just to let you know, the accreditation period is going to last for 12 months at the beginning, and then afterward it's going to be 24 months, all right? So, and you've got to apply every 24 months, with an exception. If you're a franchisee, like for instance, Pizza Hut, and if you're a labor hire company or a third-party company that provides, labor hire, like for instance, trade staff, you would you'd only be granted 12 months every time.
Okay.
Yes, because they need to meet particular criteria, like certain criteria. They need to show that 15% of their staff, that where they're placing is Kiwis and not just migrants. Okay. So, and they need to meet they need to be shown as increasing wages and so on, because like Pizza Hut and so on or I should say those franchises are notorious for not increasing wages and things.
Good question. I applied for residency on skilled migrant category. I'm still on partners work visa essential skills, but we haven't been selected yet. Will we lose this application if my employer doesn't become accredited?
So that was a good question that was actually asked. So because somebody asked the question, if we have an SMC application, how do we remain lawful? Okay. Yeah. You would still need to, no, you won't lose it unless you let your work visas expire. That's when you become unlawful, and that's when they'll throw it out because you become unlawful. Okay, so whatever visa you're on and what you need to do, you need to apply for the next visa and maybe have that conversation with your employer as well.
So if your visa expires and you reapply on the old system, still being employed by the same employer, do you have to go through the same process that you initially went through with your first visa?
So with any visa, while we say it's a renewal, it is a brand new application. So it all depends on whether your employer is going to, or you're going to renew now or with the new accreditation process. And the employer will have to obviously meet the job check in the new process. In the current process, they will still need to do a labor market test. Did I answer that question properly? Because I feel like I've missed out some bits and pieces.
Let's see, yeah. Sorry, I just moved this question already off.
Sorry.
Is that the one? Yep.
So just remember, on the old system, you have until the 31st of October to apply as well. So if you need to apply, you could probably do that now, depending on how long you have, and you get 3 years. So the employer still goes on the current system rather than the new accredited system that they need to get onto. Yeah.
Right. I applied for residency 13/5/2021 on work to residence accredited employer. Am I okay? Yes.
Right. Okay. That was a good question. And in fact, there was confirmation about that. Okay. So those people who have work to residence currently and have a residence from work application in, immigration are going to follow that through and make sure that the process doesn't change, and you'll get assessed exactly the same way as the way it currently is. But they're going to confirm, with the people that are currently on the work to residence, they're going to confirm, is the residency pathway going to be the same? So we don't know if they're going to change it or not.
All right. Another question coming in on the other side. Sean Lange saying, hi, Vanita. How will the changes in the new visa system affect my pathway to residency, as I'm currently on the accredited employer's work to residence visa, but don't earn double the medium wage at this stage?
So I think I may have just answered that question.
You just answered that question.
Yeah, because we don't have confirmation if whether the minister is going to follow the work to residence pathway, for you when you're ready to apply for residence. But we know that those people that already have something in, they are going to honor that and follow that through.
All right. Izan Silva also asking very much the same question. Hi, Vanita, just going back to the work to residence visa, please. Will the 106K per annum be relevant to those who are currently on the visa and about to apply for residence?
No, Izan, you're safe. So I know Izan's situation. So Izan, you're okay because I know when you're going to go for residence. So you're okay. It's just the people that are applying like next year and so on, on the work to residence, and they're applying for residence after 2 years next year. It all depends on what the policies are going to be announced for that. So think of it like this here. You are safe until the 31st of October if you are applying for residence to work. You've done your 2 years and you're applying for that. Yeah.
Another good question. When getting a new visa after November, will your partner be getting an open work visa or not?
So just remember, the open work visa is not affected. So any open work rights is not affected by this new regime. So the main applicant will be affected, but the open work visa holder will still get an open work visa based on partnership.
Okay. Martin Tennyson asking how many residency applications currently pending beside the expression of interest in the pool? Is that the 7,000 you were talking about?
I think he's probably talking about how many they are still currently assessing or have to assess. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I think they're only uplifting about 47 per month. Some of the decisions are really slow in a month, so they're on a go slow. They're only around August of 2019. Hopefully they've moved
47 a month. Are they even open?
No, these are the ones that have been sitting there since August 2019 or longer. So yeah. And so it depends how many were lodged at that time. I don't know, but it's really, really slow. But if you prioritize, you are getting a case officer within 10 days. Okay. And if everything's there, you're getting residence within 2-3 months, even shorter than that.
All right. Any new updates on the parental visa?
No, unfortunately not. And seriously, it just does not seem like a priority, for the government, I suppose,
That's right.
Talking about that, Jan, I'll mention something. I don't know whether you saw in the news that the retirement income, which is a fair residency amendment bill, that they are looking at, where they are, or I should say Parliament or Cabinet are looking at changing the super for the super from 10 years to 20 years. So in my opinion, and I'll say this in my opinion, it looks like the age, where we have 55 right now, may be dropped to 45.
Same as
Australia did that. Yes, Australia did that. Every other country's done that. So look, it's my opinion, but and I was trying to see, because from the Immigration Act we draw from other acts as well, and it's possible that we may drop the age. I don't know, and please don't get scared about anything or whatever, but I don't know. Yeah, it does make sense because you've got to be contributing for 20 years before you would access super anyway, and what is the number, 480k per lifetime of person, to support them for super. So it's quite a bit of money, especially for those that don't contribute to the economy. They can access it. Yeah.
Question. Let me just get the right one there. Essential skilled visa holders in trouble, asking Monique Oliver.
Are they in trouble? It's changing. Let's just say that it's changing. I know it's a new way. The only thing is, what is the pathway for residents going to look like? Because right now they've confirmed that you've got to earn twice the median wage on the new way to get residence. What about those people that don't earn twice the median wage? How are they going to have a pathway to residence? We don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Aaron Thomas asking, can you be on both expression of interest and work to residence systems at the same time, waiting for one of them to come through?
Absolutely. If you obviously on the work to residence and, you're waiting for your 24 months, but you've got all the points, to put in an expression of interest, absolutely, because you've got two pathways and you've always had two pathways, either 24 months or as soon as possible, So, yeah.
Question from Alan Baker. At the moment, if you apply for residency on a work to residence talent and you're earning above 90K, you can apply for permanent residency. How does the new rules affect this?
I can't tell you because I know with permanent residence as well, it was effective by a certain date where, you could have got permanent residence with a 90K. After that date, you're not eligible. It's residence. But how does it affect it? I don't know because we're waiting for all the policy details. So just remember, they are scrapping 6 visa categories and the work to residence and so on is all going to be scrapped. So whatever applies, everything will apply until the 31st of October. After that, we'll only do it retrospective for those people that are on those visas already.
Quick. I'm on a talented accredited employer visa. Will be applying for residency in August, but not sure if I'll be in the priority queue. Not on 40 hours per week. My contract is 37.5 hours per week. Should I apply for renewal of my accredited employer visa then before 1 November?
So just remember, full-time work is defined as 30 plus hours a week. Okay. So you're fine. Yes, we do base everything on a 40-hour week, but that's full-time work. So that's one other thing. Sorry, what did you? I know it was a long question. Sorry, Jan.
Shove this thing a bit more to this side. The question is flying in here. It's absolutely crazy. Let's get that question back on there.
And then you said, should you be renewing your credit? Okay, so just remember, with an accredited employer, okay, or anybody who holds accreditation right now, if they are not going to employ a new migrant on the 1st of November, the accreditation still carries on. It's only when they are employing a new person that they would actually need to do the new accreditation process. Okay, and that's for any employer as well.
All right. Our residency application has been drawn from the pool. We've been waiting for over 15 months, and we should have enough time still on our skilled migrant category. However, should immigration take longer to process the application and I need an interim visa, will my employer needs to be accredited?
So one, you don't apply for an interim visa, okay? At all times, you have to make sure your temporary visa is valid. So you will apply for whatever temporary visa you need to be on, and you will be having that discussion with your employer as to whether you do it now or when that's expiring, and work out, because there is a timeline for employers to follow a process or meet the criteria.
Right. Back to the essential skills visa. On the other side, Martin Tienerson is asking, is the essential skills visa going to fall away completely after 31 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a yes there. Big yes. We did expression of interest and was selected from the pool. And application was done in July 2020 under the skilled migrant visa category. Did they discuss processing times on these, and if they will be changing on PR residence and eventuality citizenship?
So just remember, if you have been drawn from the pool, you've been given an invitation to apply in ITA. These changes do not affect you. It only affects your temporary visa, and you, as I said, you need to make sure that is valid and the employer, is following the process, or you are, or whatever that may be. But none of these changes affect you. And just remember, immigration, you have at a time of lodgement, and then there's an at a time of processing. So you still need to meet the criteria with what you did at lodgement and then at processing as well. Okay. So yeah, if there's issues there, then that's when you'll run into some problems.
Thanks for your time.
No worries.
That was the easy one. If we look for a job with an accredited employer now before the changes, must we earn 55K or the 107K? Will the changes affect us then?
Right. So right now, accredited employees, and to get a talent accredited employer work visa is 79,560. So that's how much you need to be earning. If you meet that, that's fine. But the 106 is obviously, it's I don't know what they're thinking is behind that, with the 106. Yeah.
In 2 years, when we apply for residency, will we get approved on what the current requirements are?
It depends, because just remember, when you apply for your work to residence, you're applying at the state. When you apply for residence from work, while the categories are linked, because you've got to meet, your 24 months and so on, immigration can change the residence from work policies, because just remember, it's a different visa that you're applying for, because that's the permanent one that you're applying for.
That's right.
So they can change it. Yeah.
Quick question. My son will be on a visitor's visa when we apply for residency in September and we get our new work visas. Will there be a way to extend his visitor's visa?
Well, you can do that. It all depends on how the application is positioned to immigration, what the arguments are and so on, because right now we know visitor visas are purely visitor visas. They are making exceptions, but it's a matter of how you would present that information to make that exception.
Right. Is it advisable to look for a new position with an accredited employer before the changes? Will we still be on the current wage requirements, or will it change to twice the wage as well?
I don't know, because there's going to be a different category, or maybe they'll still keep SMC but define it differently, and we know that they're definitely going to change, the criteria for SMC.
Yeah.
So, look, they haven't said they're getting rid of SMC. This is one pathway that they're looking at providing, residents. There has to be some other criteria, like you have your nurses that will never earn the 106,000. Okay, you have your teachers that may not earn the 106,000 because their salaries are capped according to their qualifications and so on. So you're definitely going to find that there's going to be pockets where they will have residence granted for certain people, and also that middle level as well, but we don't know what that middle level is going to look like.
All right. Question, will you recommend someone in the essential skills visa to renew their visa now? We still have 1.5 years left on our visas.
I think you know what, you need to talk to your employer, and you need to ask your employer, look, I've got 1.5 years left. Are you planning on getting accredited? Because that employer pretty much has like 1 year, 3 months to be able to get everything ready to do the employer accreditation. So that's a conversation you may need to have. But as I've said before, some employers are not going to want to do that, because they may find that they can get a Kiwi to do the job. So it's just unfortunately the reality of it.
Okay. Question on the other side. Martin asking, if currently still on an essential skills visa and our second expression of interest in the pool, will the points change for approval to get drawn from the pool?
Most likely, I think, because 160 points is a lot of people meeting 160 points.
Yeah.
So it's not just probably good, in my opinion, it's not just going to be a points change. It's probably going to be different criteria as well. Like for instance, I mentioned about the cities, this is probably an indication of what they're going to define that as. So you'll probably find that a lot of people, if they are in Hamilton and they claim 30 points, they may find that they're 30 points less. But yeah, they may make some other changes. We don't know. But as I said, it's my opinion. So I'm making that disclaimer.
Basically, what is changing in June, July? Is that different from what changes in October, or is everything just changing in October?
No, it's all right. The timing was very confusing to us as well. So 30th of June is when the current employer accreditation stops. So if your employer wants to get accreditation now because they want to put you on work to residence or something like that, they can do that, okay? Then they have that time from now till the 30th of June to do that. After that, so if they don't do that, then they will do it a little bit later, if they're employing somebody new. In late September, they can just choose to go into the new system. And on the 1st of November is when they will, those people that are hiring new migrants or employers hiring new migrants would need to get accreditation.
All right. Vanita, this is the last question we're going to take. If we reapply for essential skilled visas for the same job, does the employers have to advertise the job again? We have submitted the expression of interest as well, waiting for it to reopen. Interesting question.
Yes, so just remember, as I said, every visa, you need to meet the criteria of that visa. So while it may be a renewal, yes, they still need to do a labour market test. Yes, they still need to meet all the criteria of what is required for that particular visa.
Yeah. All right. There's another one coming in. A wife and I both civil engineers. This comes from Janet and Josh Mostert saying, both earning above the required 106K, also both engineer registered. Expression of interest still stuck. What now?
I know. So have a chat to your employer if they're not accredited, and make sure that they do, they do plan on following the process.
Yeah.
My feeling is if they open up the pool for SMC, they're probably going to choose the high income earners, because that seems like what they're doing, and occupationally registered people. They'll probably go first, and then maybe they'll start like lowering the criteria, as they meet a quota. So they may run a quota system going, we'll have X amount open, and we'll, these people that meet the twice the median wage registration, and that's where your teachers and your nurses and so on will get selected from.
But basically, it's now time for you to go and sit down and talk to the employer.
Yes.
Or you've got to have that discussion.
Yes, you need to have that discussion. And if the employer doesn't know what to do, and immigration are running webinars for them as well. If the employer is unsure, then look, you can put them in touch with your advisor, or somebody, and then they can provide them more information and talk to them about what the requirements are.
All right. This is the last one. Thanks, Jan and Vanita. Cheers. Vanita, thank you very much for being with us on this Sunday. I know you've got people that want to spoil you that side. So let's us go back to our normal days, and you go and enjoy Mother's Day.
Thank you very much. Mother's Day, yes.
Thanks, Vanita. So it's basically time people go and sit down, talk to the employers, and get the plan of action down there. It is clear that it's not going to become easier, but we will still have to try and get ways around this to get our people out of South Africa. Vanita, thank you very much for your time. And on this good note, let's say goodbye.
Yes, see you.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.